In our digital dive, you've likely seen this story making the rounds on your social media feeds. Over the weekend, President Trump retweeted a video of one of his supporters chanting "White Power." Of course, this has sparked a lot of conversation online, so here's what happened. Now, the video was posted to Twitter on Saturday, and appears to show dueling demonstrations between Trump supporters and his opponents at The Villages, which is a retirement community in Florida. About 10 seconds into the video, a man driving in a golf cart can be seen and heard yelling "White Power" at people protesting President Trump. This video already has more than 9 million views. Then on Sunday, the president retweeted the video saying thank you to the great people of The Villages. Not long after that, a few hours later, Trump deleted his post. Now, a spokesperson for the president said in a statement that he did not hear the one statement made on the video. What he did see was tremendous enthusiasm from his many supporters. Now, when asked about the video on CNN, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott called it indefensible. Scott is the only black Republican in the Senate. And Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar sounding off about the tweet as well.
And instead of healing and bringing people together, he's sending things out like this that he then has to later delete, but, damage done.
And of course, all of this right now happening as our country is experiencing a reckoning over race and racial equality, all sparked by the death of George Floyd. Chris?